Yeah, so here I am on the side of a mountain overlooking a lake in a tent, homeless. That's my duffel bag with all my clothes in it. Got another duffel bag right there that I fill up with dirty laundry, and then I bring it into town, do my laundry. My backpack right there. Got my pillow, my sleeping bag. It's a basic setup for right now. This is where I am. You know what I'm saying? About to trim the beard up a little bit. Still looking good, you know what I'm saying? They still looking good. You know what I mean? Got the, you know what I'm saying? Got the Nikes. Pretty good for a homeless guy in a tent. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of dust on him. You know what I'm saying? But still, for a homeless guy, come on. Anyways, there is mountain lions, grizzly bears, black bears, wolves, coyotes, and other unknown things out here, to be honest. There's a lake over there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. Pulling up on the scooters. So you might ask yourself, why would somebody be in a tent on the side of a mountain instead of go to a homeless shelter? Jacked, well, that's just the thing. Jacked living out here. You don't want to be at a homeless shelter, especially if you're a sober homeless person. It's really not going to be good for your health. In a homeless shelter, I end up getting sick. When I'm outside, living out of a tent, I end up getting stronger and healthier and more fit. That's just how it really is. No, weed is not a drug. If you think weed's a drug, you've never witnessed real drugs and real addiction before in your life. Trying to go through homelessness sober is literally an impossible task. No wonder everybody's on drugs or drinks just to go to sleep. If it wasn't for weed, I would have already completely lost my mind and probably killed somebody and went to jail. Because that's just kind of how it is when you're living in the streets, dealing with these elements, dealing with these types of people. A lot can come against you. Everybody's medicated on something. I just choose not to go the pharmaceutical route because it turns everybody into a drug addict. Living outside helped me be around nature. It helped me heal. It helped me focus on my goals, and it kept me away from the elements of the street. Addiction, criminal elements, people trying to steal my stuff, me getting into fights and end up having to go to jail. Anything can happen when you're in the street. But the stigma is that people live outside because they don't want to follow the rules in the shelters. They just want to party and do their drugs and drink. And they're just lazy. They don't want to deal with authority. They don't want to deal with structure. That's the farthest thing from the truth. Anybody that thinks that hasn't been homeless ever in their life or ever been to a shelter. That's for sure. It's for the forest fires. So all while I was homeless, the entire province of British Columbia was on fire, not to mention the entire world. But specifically Kelowna, and Vernon is right beside Kelowna, and that's where I was, in Vernon. So I was directly threatened by these forest fires, not to mention did it really mess my lungs up from breathing that in, living outside, not able to escape from it. Shelters were always full. Well, I just got up. It's about 5, 6 in the morning. I had my hammock pitched over here by the water. There's nice white sand down there. And I'm off. Start my day. So I see this thing move, and I'm like, that wasn't a stick, but it camouflaged itself. Check it out. Look, he knows that he got seen now. You see him? Yeah, I'm telling you, man. It's a praying mantis, but it looks like you know, one of those stick creatures. See, you know, they're usually green, these things, but they can change their color. This thing just blended in immediately right in front of me to the exact color. See him move his head? He's listening to me. He knows that I know he's there, but of the exact color. See him? Watch this. Look at him go. Look at him go. Look at him go. Look at this thing, man. Look at him. Yo, I don't even think I've seen one of these things in real life. Look at him. Look at that thing. He just blended in. That's crazy. And then, of course, tragedy strikes. An apex predator. You're not allowed to be free or be homeless. That's illegal. Try to kill me. The city will find your tent and throw it in the garbage. If not, somebody else will. Now, I'm on a fucking mountain, okay? I'm on a fucking mountain in British Columbia, on the side of a mountain, across from a fucking lake, way the fuck far away from everybody and any fucking thing, okay? And I had a fucking tent up here. There's no trespassing signs anywhere. It's open entry up here. There's no fences blocking it off from getting up here. There's no signs that say no trespassing. And the fucking Ministry of Forest left me a note, took my tent, all my clothes. All I'm trying to do is survive. You fucking goofs. I'm in the middle of nowhere. On a fucking mountain, you fucking pieces of shit. Leave people alone. All they're trying to do is live. I needed to lay down right now. I'm tired, man. Fuck! I'm waking up to fucking sprinklers waking me up in the morning. There's nowhere to go. I don't want to go to a shelter with fucking crackheads and junkies and shit, bro. So I have every fucking right to live outside anywhere I fucking want without anybody burdening my ability to live. You touch my shit, I'll fucking kill you, you fucking goofs. You watch. This is why the crime rate's happening. This is why people like me have to go back to the hood and sell fucking crack to survive. Because you won't even leave me alone. You won't leave me the fuck alone. I want to live in peace. I don't want to be a part of your system or your society. Fuck off. Leave me alone. Leave me the fuck alone. I don't use drugs. I don't fucking drink. All I want to do is go to sleep. You fucking goofs. I fucking hate you so much. This fucking province deserves every fucking thing. It's burning down. British Columbia is burning down for a reason. It's God's wrath. God fucking hates this fucking place. You guys are pieces of fucking shit. This whole province, all you do is prey on the homeless. You judge them. You won't fucking leave them alone. Let them live their fucking lives. You fucking goofs. You all deserve to die. Bang. Somebody deserves to fucking blow your fucking head off, man. And it might be me one day. I'm telling you. You stupid fucks. You deserve to die. Everybody that fucks with the homeless, you deserve to get your fucking face smashed the fuck in and mutilated, you piece of shit. Any fucking organization, the government, fucking RCMP, anybody, you deserve a fucking bomb dropped off at your fucking front desk, you fucking goofs. Leave people alone that are living outside. Leave them alone. You have no fucking right. This is not your fucking land. This is God's land. You fucking goofs. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to the government. It doesn't belong to man. This is God's creation, you fucking goofs. What are you, fucking stupid? Don't fucking touch my shit, bitch. I'll fucking kill you, my word. And when I'm fucking at the bottom, living outside, trying to survive. I'm getting woke up by sprinklers. My shit's getting fucking drenched. People are stealing my shit. I'm trying to go to fucking sleep. That's all I've been trying to do for a week, you fucking bum-ass, bitch-ass motherfuckers. I'm gonna fucking kill you, man. I'm gonna kill you. Now you know why people get killed for no fucking reason. Now you know why people go to fucking jail and can't get out. Now you know why people are stuck in homelessness and can't fucking get out. You fucking goofs, man. Now, I don't actually want to kill anybody. Well, maybe I do, but I wouldn't actually kill anybody. Just to set the record straight, because I value my freedom. And in reality, I would never want to kill anybody. As much as maybe some people deserve to be killed, it's not going to be me that's going to kill them. That's for sure. But this is the result of going through 15 years of homelessness and being picked off, targeted, and picked apart by the system, by the city, by society, by the bylaw, and now Ministry of Forests, which belongs to the BC government. They do absolutely nothing but stand in the way and burden one's ability to create any type of improvement in their life when they're going through homelessness. Unfortunately, it requires living outside in order to improve your quality of life, or even have the peace or the energy or the sleep or the security in order to make it out of homelessness. That's one of the first steps that you're going to have to figure out when you become homeless, once you realize that it's not going to work being in a homeless shelter. And then when you do try to go outside and tent, and you go and you try to stay out of the way, away from society to sit there and look at you and judge you. I don't want to be in a park where everybody can stare at me and target me and people can steal from my tent. That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. Nobody would do that logically. It doesn't make any sense. But that's what the city wants from you. And then if you go anywhere else, they'll steal your tent, throw it in the garbage. If it's not by law, the city, the police, RCMP, or Ministry of Forests, then it'll just be some random person that hates the homeless, that sees a tent and thinks you're a drug addict, and then they throw it out and destroy all of your stuff, including all your documents that you just needed to get your ID, setting you back 8 months back into even a further cycle of homelessness, prolonging it even further. That's the reality. This is why I'm so angry in this. This is why I lost my mind completely. This deteriorates your mental health. Going through this experience completely deteriorates one's well-being in every way, shape, or form. It creates people to become violent, aggressive, mentally unstable, and make irrational decisions. And this is all by the system. This is all the system. The government, the law, bylaw, the city, and this is across BC. It's like this everywhere you go. Right there is the paper that was left back behind with a rock on top of it from the Ministry of Forests, telling me that it's illegal for me to put my tent in the middle of nowhere on a mountain across from a lake, away from all public places, not burdening anybody, not creating any garbage, clean, beautiful, organized encampment, just a tent with my duffel bag and all my clothes in it, which they took. I had another duffel bag that had some other things in it, but I had to walk into the middle of nowhere in the Okanagan Valley to this place, to the Ministry of Forests, which you need a vehicle to get to, and it was literally like 42 Celsius at the time, and I had to go pick my stuff up and drag it all the way back to this spot because I have nowhere else to go, and then them threaten me that they're gonna call the police on me or have me fined or charged for trespassing for just literally trying to survive. So before you judge me of me becoming mentally unstable and freaking out, just take that into consideration. You know, this can't be happening. This can't be allowed to happen. You cannot burden one's ability to live and prosper in any which way they choose to do so. I don't have to be forced to do it the way that you think is the standard, the society's standard, the system standard. First of all, you can't even get a job or work a job or maintain a job when you're living in an environment like that, or if the bylaw in the city is throwing your clothes out in your tent and stealing it over and over and over again, every week, every other second week, every month, whatever, costing you hundreds of dollars to just buy a home over and over again so you can stay out of sick environments, so you can maintain yourself and you can actually get out of homelessness. The system itself is literally destroying every possibility for you to get out of these circumstances. You don't realize this is what it takes, this is what's necessary, and this is what you have to do in order to survive homelessness, prosper, improve your quality of life, and gain any type of leverage to get out or any type of energy. And it's already exhausting alone, just trying to live outside. You try to go to work every single day for 2 weeks and sleep outside. Good luck. You think you're that tough? You're not. I challenge anybody to come outside with me for a year and do homelessness for a year. I'd do it to raise money around homelessness to a real cause. I'll do a year of homelessness even if I had a place with anybody that hasn't been homeless that thinks that they could do better, that they got all the answers. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you just do this? Why don't you just get a job? What's your problem? Why don't you just Google my name, Cory Resilient, and see all the community work and all the jobs that I have done and how much impact that I've had in people's lives? The only one that's deserving, the only one that's worthy out of all these people that are employed around homelessness, that are making millions of dollars, generating wealth and employment opportunities for themselves, but they're cutting out people like me that overcame homelessness, had a place, and started to get involved in nonprofits and charities around homelessness. And they were just using me as leverage. They were just using me as the guy with lived experience that they could claim so that they could say that they've made some progress, and that's why they need another $100,000 this year, or they need another 10 million this year, or another 100 million this year. The opportunities are only for themselves. But anyways, when you try to improve your quality of life going through homelessness, this is what's going to happen to you, until the point where you completely deteriorate, your health deteriorates, your mind deteriorates, and then you're not even capable of getting yourself out of those circumstances anymore. And then you hate society, you hate the system, you end up committing crime, going to jail, and then the system wins and so does society. Now you're just a piece of shit, just like they said you were, you know? And then you get out of jail, you give up, want to kill yourself, and start using drugs. Now you're a drug addict, just like they said you were. It's the system, it's society, it's the mentality towards, it's everything, it's the structure that's causing this destruction. You're all participating in it. You have no idea. I ended up getting to go get my stuff and had nowhere to store it and had to sleep in my hammock instead of my tent. So, I'm in my hammock at a park, just chilling at a park in my hammock, right? Bylaw just came up to me and told me that I'm not allowed in British Columbia to have a hammock in between two trees. So it's against the law in British Columbia to just hang out in a hammock anywhere in British Columbia in between two trees. You're not allowed to have a hammock in British Columbia pitched in between two trees, which that's what a hammock does. And, you know, they just argued with me. I'm sitting here like, man, leave me alone. You know what I mean? Like, leave me alone. I'm not doing anything. It's you're telling me it's illegal. I live in fucking Canada. You're telling me I live in fucking Canada and I can't fucking have a hammock in between a fucking two trees in a fucking park in Canada? It's supposed to be the fucking freest country in the world. Like, that's the most psychotic fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. But I'm being threatened by the fucking bylaw, telling me that they're gonna call cops if I fucking have a hammock in a park. Is this really happening? Like, is this the fucking country that I live in? What the fuck is going on? This can't be fucking real. Seriously, it's not even fucking possible. Not even going through all that, I get this rash on my face underneath my beard, that's some type of dermatitis I got diagnosed with. It's not contagious, it's not from poor hygiene or anything like that. There was a place that I went to every day where I could shower.
It's happening on my
You know, it might not be the cleanest, but, you know, fortunately I didn't get something, you know, from that place. Because that's what I originally thought. When this happened to me, I was like, this is another thing about being homeless. Just trying to go to have a shower, you might just get a flesh-eating disease or something. People don't realize that either. you know.
peeling
But
and flaking off.
anyways, it was a form of dermatitis that is actually considered a form of an autoimmune disease
Dandruff shampoos.
that can be triggered from extreme stress. So me going through all of that stuff, right,
It started up here all day.
it's making me sick. The system is making me sick. Society is making me sick. And all I'm trying to do is survive.
Dandruff shampoo, clinical, everything.
Unreal.
I just shaved my
Something
beard
else that I was
and
struggling with that I didn't mention was I was diagnosed about a year ago with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So, liver disease. There's two different forms. One can be from alcohol. The other form is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And that can be caused from stress, fatty foods, unhealthy foods, probably eating at the shelters, food bank food, expired food, sugar can do it. Well, there's the bylaw over there harassing a homeless person. It's only like 8 o'clock right now in the morning, by the way, like on the dot, which they have until 9. So here's the funny part about this. What a job, right? You're allowed to pitch your tent in this park, but every single morning at 4 a.m., every piece of grass and area where you would be able to put your tent gets completely soaked from the sprinklers that turn on every single morning at 4 in the morning. But you have to pack your stuff up by 8 in the morning. There's nowhere to go in that entire park where you can put your tent, where you're not waking up at 4 in the morning getting hit by 3 different sprinklers, which is what happened to me multiple times. Actually, a couple different times. I tried to pitch my tent for 3 days and I got soaked every single day, woken up at 4 in the morning. It was literally traumatic. It totally broke me down. It totally destroyed me. So fast forward, I get squeezed out of Vernon from not being able to basically just go to sleep anywhere without being disturbed. The forest fires happen in Kelowna, so everybody's getting evacuated, and I'm choking on a bunch of smoke. And I had a friend that lived in Chilliwack, BC, that told me to come out. I moved in with him, and I was on the couch for a bit, but things weren't really working out. So I left, and I went to a shelter. Originally, I was in my friend's backyard in a tent in the backyard, but by law showed up, walked onto the property uninvited, unauthorized, and contacted the homeowner and said that we weren't allowed to have a tent in the backyard. When, my friend and his cousin were renting this house. So how does bylaw have the authority to come onto the property and say that you can't have a tent in the backyard? I felt more comfortable in a tent because I was already living like that than I did sleeping on somebody's couch. I'm just not that type of a person. And there wasn't any room for me. It was basically just trying to survive. I just wanted to get back to making music and being a normal person instead of always surviving, and for once maybe just living and enjoying life. I was fighting my demons. I was feeling like I needed to go back to the old life that I used to live. All the stress, finally got to me. Not having money. Maybe I should go back to selling drugs again. Then when I finally feel normal again and get adjusted to not being homeless and being around other people and not being isolated, because it's hard to trust anybody. Sure enough, I started going through problems with this person. I never really met them before. I just had them on Facebook for years, and we talked. We always talked about positive things and what we were going to do and, the mission that we were on in life, and we've been through similar things, but, we all obviously had our differences and it wasn't working out. So I left and went back to a shelter. Here I am already dealing with people that are screaming all night, demonically, satanically possessed, talking to themselves, schizophrenic, people stealing from me, lost multiple items, clothing, some other stuff. People plotting on me. Some guys fucking rolled up on me and shit. I fucking grabbed my shit. And I was like, yo, what you done, no? But yo, they're like ganging up on me and shit. There's like fucking 10 of them in one of me. I got a machete in my fucking shit. So here's another thing that I learned living in the streets for 15 years. You always gotta be ready, and you gotta be willing. You might have to be willing to take somebody's life. You might have to be willing to fight. And you also gotta be 10 steps ahead of the game, which means you might have to have some weapons because you might get outnumbered. And it would just be foolish not to. You know, it just wouldn't make any sense. You're gonna be victimized if you're not prepared, if you're not ready to go to war. That's just kind of how it is. This can get you in trouble. You can end up in jail like this, obviously, but it's a necessary thing. I have no choice, and I've learned the hard way of not being prepared. I won't allow myself to be unprepared ever again. Let's see what they say anyways. You know, every day, pretty much hundreds and thousands, if not millions of dollars of food is thrown out and trashed. When it could be donated to shelters, they just don't put the effort in, and there's no service to attend to that, so they just throw it out. And I remember so many nights starving. You know, the shelter feeds you very little, and you know, 3 times a day, and that's it, and it's very small amounts. Sometimes the meat smells bad, and most of it's expired and on the verge of expiring, so it starts to get you sick, and you start to feel sick after a little while of living like that, eating the shelter food, which impacts your ability to work as well. People don't realize that if you're sick all the time and you don't feel well, like for real sick, like liver disease, like diabetes, like cancer, like, you know, because most of these shelters, all they do is feed you sugar and expired stuff, so eventually that's going to make you literally like terminally ill. So see what happens. So this is me going to the Tim Hortons to see if the stuff that they're going to throw out, if they'd be willing to give me some of it. I'm going to ask you guys, at the end of the night, when you throw out some donuts and stuff, if I could have a box, because like I'm hungry, I'm homeless, like I just need something to eat. But
You need something to eat?
yeah,
Does it work?
yeah, like if you guys are throwing stuff out at the end of the night, I was just gonna ask if I could have a box of donuts or something, anything to eat, anything. Okay, thank you. If I could have a coffee, that'd be amazing.
We
Okay,
have
no cream?
We have email. That's okay.
That's okay. Yeah, yes please. Thank you. These people are amazing. Well, they just gave me 2 big bags of food, donuts, and a coffee, a double-double. So I went to them and I asked them, I said, at the end of the night, when you guys throw out all the baked goods, I said, you know, like I'm homeless right now, and you know, I'm hungry, like would you guys be able to, you know, give me some stuff instead of throw it out? And immediately she was very compassionate. She looked like their background, they look like Indian, I think probably from India, so they come from a third world country, and they come from you know, poverty, and they come to Canada and they understand what it's like to starve and what it's like to have nothing and very little. And I'm very grateful, and I'm just grateful that there's people like that still, man. That's a blessing. But I just wanted to show you guys that this is a real thing, you know, this happens. And hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of food gets thrown out instead of brought to shelters and stuff like that. And I've been to shelters all across Canada, and I was always just starving to death, hungry all the time. Like, they would feed you 3 times a day, but it would be very little, obviously. And it goes along with what I was educating people on, with how these nonprofits and shelters and charities, you can look them up on charity data, and they literally are generating hundreds of millions of dollars, but the homeless get less than the bare minimum, and they're still hungry all the time, and there's no clothes, and there's very little, there's little to nothing. But there's hundreds of millions of dollars being generated per year by these places. So just an eye opener for some people, man. I'm documenting this because I need to show people this. I was housed for a period of time, and I ended up going back to homelessness because I trusted a female. I left my condo so we could have more money, and she left me for somebody else and kicked me out of my face. And didn't even give me any of my stuff, which I've been through multiple times in my life. I always continue to try to trust people, and I know that it's not a good idea to leave your place and move in with somebody and put all your faith into another human being. But the thing is that that we're in hard times and we have to do what we have to do in order to have more money and survive. Sometimes we have to take risks and we got to trust people, and we're prepared for that when it backfires. But I've been in the street all my life, going through homelessness since I was 14 years old. So I don't use drugs. If you looked at me, you wouldn't be able to tell that I'm homeless. You would never know. People are gonna give up on you. Just as long as you don't give up on yourself, you'll make it to the finish line. Stay resilient. Resilient gang. So, yes, that's an umbrella. I'm at a homeless shelter in Chilliwack. And see, here's the thing, right? I had my condo for 2 years. I had my 1-bedroom condo for 2 years. I was doing all that advocacy work, and that didn't turn out to be what I thought it was. The people weren't genuine, and the nonprofits and charities weren't actually doing what they claimed to be doing. They were just creating jobs and opportunities for themselves and collecting funding on behalf of people like myself that really go through homelessness and really have been through homelessness all of their lives. And these people don't, they've never been through it, but they're benefiting the most from homelessness. It's funny how that is. So I walked away from that field, right? And I was living off a small amount of money. Still have my 1-bedroom condo. And I moved in with a girl that I was with. Obviously, maybe not the best idea to put all your faith, in somebody else like that, And I don't have anybody else. So, I mean, if something goes wrong, I'm back to homelessness. And of course, trusting a female, that's exactly what happened. She met somebody else and ended up kicking me out, telling me to leave. I lost all of my stuff. I ended up homeless again. I left the island, went to the mainland, but anyways, just a little backstory. And now I'm in Chilliwack. I'm at a shelter, and now that I'm going through the process again, with the experience that I've had, as an advocate of homelessness, working in that field for several different organizations, right? I learned a lot. So now I'm documenting, once again, my homelessness to show people the way that the system is built and the way these shelters are built and these nonprofits to sit there and profit from all of this, giving us less than the bare minimum while we just wither away and die, and they're just generating millions of dollars around this, and there's no opportunity at all. So anyways, let me explain something to you. I'm in a shelter in Chilliwack, right? And they kick you out 3 times a day. Once at 11:30, you can't come back until 1:30, and then again at 4:30, and then you can't come back until 6:30. So maybe that's not 3 times a day, twice a day, but for hours at a time. Now you do that for 30 days and see what happens to you. You'll run out of juice. You'll be exhausted. You'll be tired. And then on top of it, let me tell you what I just experienced. I just got food poisoning from the shelter, and I was in the hospital all night. And this happens very frequently. happens very often. That's why a lot of us just won't eat the shelter food and just end up withering away and dying in the streets, because it's better to literally fast and not eat than it is to be chronically ill and sick with food poisoning or salmonella or coli poisoning. So I'm puking my guts out in the hospital all night. There's food poisoning. And here's the thing, the shelter doesn't let you, they don't let you bring water or food into the shelter. So you can't, they feed you very little. So here's the problem. They feed you very little, and the little that they do feed you, you're hungry all the time. Constantly hungry. It's not enough. The food is donated, it's expired. It's on the brink of expiring if it's not expired. And it's all donated. So that cuts the food budget costs by millions. They just go and collect donated food, so that way they don't have to actually spend the money on quality food that could actually improve the quality of people's health in their life. Instead, they get the donated, expired stuff, and then they save all of, millions of dollars, and then they just pocket it. They just cut costs. That's what businesses do. They find ways to cut costs so that they can increase their profit margins, and that's exactly what they do. So now this shelter won't let me. I could have went to the food. I could go to the food bank. I could collect a whole bunch of stuff that I could just snack on to get me through every single day, and then I wouldn't have to rely on food that's going to get me sick and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But they won't even let me do that. Anyway, so they won't even let me do that. So they take my ability away for me to be able to take care of myself correctly, because they don't give any help. Okay, if anything, they make things unfortunately worse. The way that it's structured, 30 days of going through this, I am so exhausted. There is no fucking way that I would be able to work right now. No fucking way. I just got food poisoned. I have to leave the shelter every single fucking day for hours at a time and go sit at Tim Hortons. And then they kick me out because I don't have any money to buy anything. And then I'm walking around in fucking circles with nowhere to go, using all of my critical energy that I need to survive, to the point where I'm completely depleted, sick, defeated, destroyed, deteriorated. And this is only in 30 days. 30 days could ruin your life in a homeless shelter. So there's 4 guys in each room. What you're hearing is the guy to the left of me, which is schizophrenic, whispering, talking demonically to himself. And then in the room beside me, another schizophrenic guy screaming and making demonic sounds. And this is only 3 minutes. Imagine this all night until 5 in the morning, every day for 30 days. The guy's also slapping and punching himself in the head and rolling around in his bed nonstop. And that goes on every night, all night, 30 days a month. It could just totally destroy your health, your mental health, and any possibility of overcoming our circumstances. People don't realize this though, because they've never actually been to a shelter and had to go through it for a month or 2 or 3 or a year. Okay, so it kills people, and I watch it happen, and I've watched it happen all my life. Hence why I sold drugs to survive, because when I tried to get employment and do all these other things, what I'm saying, like they just treated me terribly. Don't forget that I've had multiple jobs, worked as an advocate of homelessness, worked for several organizations. I've done roofing, I've been a dishwasher, I've done cleanup, construction, labor. I've done all kinds of things, so don't get it twisted. I can't do I'll fucking kill myself if I have to go back to, being a fucking guy that works at Tim Hortons. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I've been there, done that, been a dishwasher, I've done all that stuff, right? And after, making it to the top of that pinnacle of like, getting paid to be an advocate of homelessness, why would I ever? It would be so depressing to have to go back in any other direction. You know what I'm saying? It would just hurt you so bad, on top of you already being so defeated, deteriorated, and hurt already, that you just don't even want to live anymore, What I'm trying to say is, after actually having a real, meaningful, purposeful career, it would be impossible to go back to being like a normal laborer. It's just too much on the mental health. It's horrific. And it just destroys human beings. And in the shelter, in the structure of all of this stuff, doesn't have to be like that. It really doesn't. There is no shortage of funding. There's no shortage of money or resources or food. What they're doing is they've created a business model. They've created a business that generates hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And then they try to figure out, how can we spend the least amount of money to maintain for the homeless? Okay, well, we can go to all of these places that are going to throw out all this food because it's expired, and we can collect all of that food, and we can use money to actually pay for the truck to go get the food and bring it to them, and that'll cut our costs down by, $5 million this year. Okay, so now we have $5 million extra that should have been spent for the food budget for the homeless people, but we don't have to do that because we can just go collect all the stuff that gets thrown out. Smart. It's all about money, baby. That's how we do it. It's how we do it, dog. We got to make this money. And you think, okay, well, if they got to do that to make more money, to help the homeless even more, great. Unfortunately, that money just vanishes, and it doesn't go to helping the homeless. There's literally nothing there. The shelter is disgusting, okay? The showers are jail showers. You got to press a button in the wall, and then you get 30 seconds of water, and then it shuts off. Actually, 10 seconds. What am I talking about? 30 seconds would be a luxury. 10 seconds. I literally counted. It was disturbing. I almost cried. Like, literally. I'm just so defeating, right? And I'm pressing this button every 10 seconds to have a shower for 10 minutes. Like, it's... Try doing that. Go ahead. On top of getting kicked out, twice a day. On top of getting food poisoning. On top of, there's being no employment programs, absolutely no help with housing. They don't even know what to do. I literally sat down with a worker to talk about housing, and she didn't even know what to do. She was like, there's nothing. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I know. It's just how it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's sad, man. The whole thing is sad. But it's not, the money is there. There is enough funding that these hogs are swallowing whole, that it could literally give a brand new start and a fresh start and a beautiful start to a beautiful life for each person that wants it. And there are people that want it, like myself, that are just only looking for an opportunity, and the opportunity is just not there. And the resources are just not there. But that's because of these nonprofits and these shelters and charities swallowing up hundreds of millions of dollars, and it just vanishes. And then you go to these shelters and these places, and there's hardly anything. They're feeding you less than the bare minimum. Like, I got fed better in jail. Literally, I got more food in jail. I don't remember ever getting sick off jail food. Here's another lesson for those fake guys on YouTube that pull up to the homeless and say, hey, you want a job? First of all, if you're going to offer a job to somebody and expect them to do it, you're going to have to offer them a place to live, food, and everything else on top of it, okay? Because you need that for a period of time to stabilize yourself, recover and rejuvenate your health and your energy and your mental stability after going through all of that, to even think about or even be able to function at work. You need some stability for a prolonged period of time before you even start work. And let's say I got a place and I was on, welfare or something like that. Well, here's the thing. After paying rent, you're going to have no money to survive. You're going to be eating expired food bank food anyways. You're going to still be sick and feel like shit all the time. And it's just going to discourage you and make it even harder to start working. People don't realize this stuff though. You can't work on empty. You can't drive a car on an empty tank. It doesn't work. The availability to do that, well, then you just stay stuck, and then you slowly deteriorate to the point where you actually can't help yourself anymore. And then you stay there, you accept your circumstances, and then the world looks at you like you're a piece of shit. This is the truth, right? And here's the thing. People always just, you're just lazy, you don't want to work. Okay, well then Google my name and look at all the jobs that I've had. Like, look at all the community work that I've done. Look at all the things that I've accomplished, even under those circumstances for most of my life. I've done more than anybody has under circumstances that would have killed them 10, 15 years ago. Okay, so don't talk to me, you know what I'm saying? But here's the thing, right? So back to the shelter, right? They're stopping me from improving my quality of life. They won't let me bring any food in, okay? And I don't care what your reason is for that. You can say whatever you want. Listen, I'm telling you right now. Do you get bugs and cockroaches and critters from bringing food into your house? Do you bring food into your house? Of course you do. You go to the grocery store, you buy food, you have snacks, you do whatever you want. You eat in your house, you clean, and that's how you live. Okay, these people get paid. Okay, so, and if they don't want to clean, even though they're getting paid to do it, that's fine. The homeless people have absolutely no problem doing that, and it can be one of the requirements. If you don't clean your room, then you have to leave. That's a decent requirement. You know what I'm saying? If you don't clean up after yourself, then you're gonna leave, and we'll just kick you out, and that's cool. That's fine. Totally, I agree with that. But here's the thing. To stop people from being able to feed themselves because your food is making them sick and almost killing them in the hospital, well, that's inhumane. And that's a violation of people's human rights. So you can't do that, but they do that, okay? And that's a problem. And I'm suffering because of it. And it's affecting my life in a negative way, and I'm actually having more and more health problems as I go along living at this shelter, because they take away my ability to help myself more than what I'm getting now. I need to go to the food bank and get that food and bring it in, because now I can't trust the food that they're serving. I can't eat any of the meat now because it wouldn't be worth it. And it's when you're already homeless, if you make one mistake and you get sick when you're homeless and this place is kicking you out and they don't care if you're sick, ill, and can't get out of bed, you have to leave and be outside, out here in the rain, in the cold, in the wintertime, and nobody cares. And you have nowhere to go, because try to go to Tim Hortons, try to go to somewhere and they'll kick you out. You know what I'm saying? And they even take the plugs away, so you can't charge your phone. So you can't, like, what do you think is going to happen? You know, like, how do you think somebody's going to live? It's impossible. How do you think someone's going to prevail from those circumstances? Never going to happen. Okay? And every single shelter is like this. Every single system around homelessness is like this, in British Columbia at least. And they do nothing but create business out of it, and millions of dollars. And I've looked at their revenue, and I know it doesn't reflect in their services or in these shelters, and I can see, I figured out how they get the food and where they get it from and what its expiration date is. I did the investigating to figure these things out because I wanted to show people what was contributing to poverty and homelessness, because these entities are not being honest to the public, and the public is being misinformed and you know, not being educated with truth, with facts. You know, they're being educated with lies. So then they get mad at the individual and they hate the homeless people. You know, No wonder these guys are all fucked up on fucking drugs and they don't want to even live and just want to kill themselves. I understand completely because now I've been through it. And the fact that I know this is the truth makes me realize how more strong that I have to be and how much my life is at risk. There's these entities, the same ones that are claiming to be here to provide support, are the same ones that are killing me and trying to kill me systematically. So that's terrible. It's a tragedy. It's terrifying. So I'm not going out like that, right? But I'm also, here's the thing. It's not over for me, you know. I'll find a way. I always do. But bottom line is, it doesn't excuse the fact, fucking what's going on. What's actually happening. It's all about the individual has to take accountability, but the system never has to take accountability, right? And it doesn't matter if the government and these nonprofits are robbing you for your tax dollars, but you don't care about that. But you care about if somebody's collecting a welfare check or a disability check because they actually need it and they're dying, trying to survive, getting chewed up and spit out by the system, and you're worried about them using your little bit of little tax dollars when you're getting extorted and robbed by the government and used and lied to, from these nonprofits that are claiming to be helping us. They're not helping us. And here's the thing. People have figured this out and then they've decided to live outside, which improves your quality of life dramatically. Now you're able to take care of yourself. Now you're able to be at peace and away from other sick people that have mental illnesses and addiction instead of being tossed into a fucking bowl with all of them. And then you become addicted and mentally ill because that's what happens when you hang around those type of influences. Everybody knows that. That's why none of us hang out with fucking people like that. So just because I'm homeless and I'm a sober person, I have to go and be around a bunch of fucking drug addicts and fucking sick people and then get me sick too. So how are you helping pull people out of this shit and giving them a pathway out when you're just throwing them into a fucking snake pit to die and get sick themselves? You're making people sick. You're getting people turning more people into users, into drug users, all by design. Wow. And you're making hundreds of millions of dollars around it and not even putting a fucking fraction or less than 1% towards the actual cause where the people actually need it, for the people that the money was originally generated for, these social issues, right? Now this is the Salvation Army in Chilliwack, BC, the one that I'm at right now. The governing council of the Salvation Army in Canada. This is the Chilliwack chapter. It says, we hold worship services weekly and provide ministries for women, men, youth, and children. That's not true. There never once have they mentioned anything about a church or worship service or anything to do with Jesus Christ or Christianity or any type of religious help in any way, shape, or form. This is an adult shelter. I've never seen youths come here or anything like that. There's no place for youths here. So I don't know what they're talking about. At least it's not here anyways. We provide pastoral care and Christian counseling to church members. There is no church here and they've never mentioned a church. And if they did, I would go because I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. There is no Christian anything here or any counseling. I've never been, I've already asked about their services here and they never said anything about counseling. So there's no counseling, there's none of that. I haven't seen any elderly people here other than homeless people. We operate a food bank in clothing. They do have a food bank. I've been to it. It's mostly like vegetables and, just canned food and stuff like that. Sometimes fruit, but it's usually always decayed and rotten. You get very, very little, nothing significant. It's just not sustainable. It's not going to really make any difference at all. And I'm grateful for the little things that there are. I just want to compare. I want to show you the reality of what's actually being served and what's there, what's available versus how much money is being generated. And they're stealing money and they're mismanaging and misusing money, and all of these places are. not just the Salvation Army, which they've been caught for fraud before. We provide free meals for the homeless on a daily basis and a shelter service for the homeless. Yeah, there's a shelter service for men. There's a shelter for women right across from the men. As for the meals, for the homeless, there's only meals at lunchtime for people that don't live here. So if you want to come here for dinner or anything like that, you can't. You have to have a bed here. You have to be living here in order to get a shower or meal, unless it's lunch. So not everything is accurate on here. So as you can see, $6 million in 2022, and they spent significantly less. The expenditures were a lot less than what they generated, and we're talking about almost $2 million difference. So where did that $2 million go? Who knows, right? And 2021, same thing. Whatever, across the board. Now, other charities and nonprofits are really good at lying about their data. If you ever see revenue generated and then the expenditure at the same level, like 6 million revenue generated 2022, and then 6 million, exactly 6 million spent as an expenditure, that's how you know they're lying, because that's not even possible mathematically. You can't spend as much money as you generate and continue to run a business. It's just not going to work. So they're obviously lying. But the thing is that millions of dollars are being just mismanaged, misused, literally just disappearing. And if you go down here and you can actually click on staff, it says 49 full-time employees, which here's another thing. They lie about the amount of employees, because let's say they're saying 49 on here, but in reality there's probably like 15 or 20. So they're only paying for 15, 20 employees. And they do that on purpose. They'll cut 20 or 25 employees out of that total, and that now they don't have to pay 15, 20 employees. So if they can put most of the pressure and weight on, 20 employees instead of 49, then they can, increase their profit margin by who knows how much that would be. If we look at the salaries, we can see the top 10 highest paid employees. So $40,000 to $80,000 a year. I mean, that's not a lot, but it's also not like a really, really, it's not a physically demanding job. It's not like you're doing roofing or construction or something like seriously physical. It's weighing on the mental health, though. I'm not gonna lie. It's not an easy job when it comes to dealing with people that have mental health problems and addictions, and being exposed to these people's trauma is not easy. But point being is that, things don't really add up. So if they were paying $80K a year to 10 people, that's the top 10 highest. But if you look 120 and over, it says non-applicable. It always says that with every single nonprofit. They don't even want to disclose that part. But anyways, there's many ways to like cut costs in the food budget, in the employee budget. All you gotta do is just lower your amount of employees when you should have 49, but they're forcing 20, and then 20 employees have to take all of the load, basically, so to speak, and it adds pressure to those 20 employees, and their job roles are increased, and how much they're actually supposed to be doing, and what they're only getting paid to do one job, but they're doing 5 jobs. You know what I'm saying? So this is another way the system or the nonprofit can make more money. But one thing I would like to add about this shelter is this literally is the best shelter in the entire province of BC that I've been in when it comes to the staff, when it comes to just whatever, the food and stuff. Even though that I got food poisoning here, this is the best option out of all of them. So that should even tell you something even more. If this is the best option, like, that's how bad can it get? A lot worse, trust me. But here's the thing, at least at this shelter, all the staff that I've spoke to are actually genuine. They're actually sincere, they're kind, they go out of their way, they're humble, and I value that greatly because I know how rare that is. I've been everywhere in BC, I've been to all these shelters, and I've never witnessed such corruption and such abuse coming from people that work at a homeless shelter in my life. I couldn't understand why somebody would work a job like this if they hate the homeless and if they're just abusive and mean and cruel to the homeless. Like, it's sick. Like, a lot of them would intentionally go to their way to be mentally abusive and manipulative for no reason, to cause distress to the people that are living here. And it was bullying at its finest in a professional way. Nobody's gonna believe a drug addict, a homeless person. You know what I mean? So they just get to take out their anger out on you and get away with it. And they know that. So that power over you, they abuse it. It's a form of harassment by the Civil Rights Tribunal Act in British Columbia. It's called abuse of power. But I did want to note that out of all the shelters, this was probably the best one that I've been in the entire province of BC. And it's still, very difficult. But here's the thing, it's not like the money's not there. The money's there, they just don't utilize it to improve this. So, once again, I'm documenting this stuff, and I'm going through it, and it's just a disaster. So, I just need people to know about this. I just need people to know about this, man. So anyways, the shelter kicks you out multiple times a day. You got nowhere to go. You're walking around in circles. You're fucking exhausted. The food is less than the bare minimum of a fucking prison inmate. Okay? You're starving all the fucking time. And then you're getting sick, food poisoned from the fucking food and the meat. And then you're fucking puking your guts out, going to the hospital. You come back at 3 a.m. They kick you out and say that you missed the fucking curfew. And now you got to sleep outside while you have fucking food poisoning and you're dying. In the fucking rain, in the cold, in the wintertime. And then you just get pneumonia and fucking die anyways. And then the hospital rejects you because they think you're a fucking drug addict just trying to get pain medication. Okay? I hope you understand this. It's mass genocide. That's what it is. And I'm a sober homeless person, and it is fucking destroying me going through homelessness over and over again. Now, this is the reality. I should have already been a drug dealer, a fucking pen timer, in jail for life, or fucking dead like everybody else. Like my dad, like my first love, like all my people. They all fucking died because nobody makes it out of that life.
When God has purposed for you to do something significant, expect the enemy to send out his special forces. That might be why your life has been so hard. Not because God is not with you, but maybe God is so distinctively with you. Maybe his plan for your life is so intimidating and threatening to the devil that there's no way he's going to let you ascend to your purpose without an attack. That might be why you're fighting right now.
When you see people change their whole life and start walking down a path of enlightenment, I'm talking about hugging trees, connecting with nature, loving themselves, embracing the positivity, letting that light shine. Understand one thing, as that light that you see, you see the happiness, you see the smile, and you see all the rainbows and all of that stuff. But understand one thing about that light that they got. They had to go into the darkness to get it. Them people is not the type of people that you want to play with.
Very, very few people make it out of that life, okay? So I'm already a fucking success story and a miracle that I even made it this far. So before you judge me and say, oh, well, just get a job. Motherfucker, I've had more jobs than you. I've done jobs that were not just using my hands like a fucking robot. Like, I did things that were meaningful, impactful, and try to create change in the community. And guess what happened? The people that run that whole field, the nonprofits and charities and the government, were playing a fucking game that I didn't realize was being played. And it's all about money. And then when I started to challenge and question things and say, well, listen, like, let's start allocating budgets. Like, you don't need $90 million towards this one thing, which isn't even causing any impact at all in the areas that it needs to. What are you guys doing? What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden I'm blackballed, fucking my contract's terminated, and they're trying to slander me in fucking defamation. Oh, okay. Okay. So you guys are gangsters. Or you're fucking wannabe gangsters preying on the fucking homeless and the sick and mentally ill and addicted, creating a business out of it. That's worse than a fucking pedophile. Well, not really, but I would say that you guys are fucking on the level of pedophiles. I would say that you are right beside them. That's what I would say. Dishonorable, fucking disgusting shit. You know, for the wealthy to stay wealthy and the poor to stay poor. They've made a business. It's fucking crazy. It's not just BC. It's an international business model. And the only way you'd ever discover this is if you went through homelessness for long enough, and then you got employed to related fields around homelessness, nonprofits, charities. You learned how the infrastructure works, how they get their funding, how they apply for grants, and the game that they're playing. And then you look at all that money and say, well, what the fuck is the problem then? Because that's like $500 million a year. Where the fuck are you guys putting the money? Because the money was generated originally to improve the quality of life of the homeless and give them a pathway out of homelessness. You know that, right? So if you're putting fucking 95% of the fucking money or more into the business, and it's not even fucking creating an impact, then what the fuck are you doing then? Like, you're just robbing people. That's fraud, you fucking retards. And then the homeless aren't supposed to complain about it, and I'm not supposed to say anything about it? Fuck you, man. You know, you're a fucking idiot. You know? Bunch of fucking retards. So, anyways, at least somebody fucking had to expose this shit. And here's the thing, I have to put myself in a vulnerable situation. It's embarrassing to admit that I'm going through homelessness, but I'm such a capable person and I've done such amazing things that I can look back and reflect at that and be like, you know what, how the fuck could anybody judge me? Like, I overcame the hood, I overcame poverty, I left the hood, went to a fucking island, got a 1-bedroom condo, got employed to several organizations, including United Nations. I did shit that no motherfucker that came from the street ever did. Ever fucking no homeless motherfucker ever did what I did and kicked the door in. And then I created a whole organization around it to literally fucking educate people and expose this shit. And that's creating impact. Okay, that's real impact. These people are creating a fucking display, a show for the public, so that way you guys keep donating your money and investing into this machine that's fucking slaughtering the homeless that claims to be here to help. That's the reality. So, you know, judge all you want, say all the fucking shit you want. I don't care. I've already beat the program. And I'll do it again, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the reality still remains. You can go ahead and keep looking for things to say to me. Oh, well, why don't you do this? Oh, well, why don't you just do this? Or, oh, I would have did this. Or, motherfucker, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Just shut the fuck up. Until you go through it, until you come out here and live it, just please shut the fuck up, please. I'm begging you. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And it's unrealistic, the things that you're saying. Coming from your perspective, it makes logical sense and it seems like a doable thing. But you're not coming from the right perspective. And you never will be able to, because the experience is what develops the perspective. You don't have it. You don't have the experience, so you don't have the knowledge, so you don't have the education to speak about anything. Because education is really experience. Education doesn't come from fucking books, but and schools and shit. That's false education. Where education comes from and knowledge comes from is experience. That's it. If you can't accept that, then you're just a part of the fucking problem. Sorry. It's the truth. And I know nobody likes that. I know that. I hear that. Anyways, this is the reality, man. This is one aspect. This is too much, man. It's too much. This is why people are dying. I don't even use drugs. Holy fuck! What's going on happening to the people that are using and shit? You know, they're fucking really suffering. They're really getting chewed up, spit out, and fucking slaughtered and killed, and fucking nobody believes them because they're on drugs. And guess what? The system caters to that too and makes sure that they stay on fucking drugs. I'm telling you, I can prove it. VictoriaBCProfits.ca. If the site's down right now, it'll be up soon, shortly. I had to, obviously, in my circumstances, stop paying for the website to have that extra money to survive, because I have to pay to eat outside of a shelter, which could cost $30 to $50 per day, because the shelter is making me sick. Okay? And that's what's happening across British Columbia. I've been all over the place, all over the island, all over the mainland. I've wanted to experience every single shelter in BC. And I wanted to actually highlight the ones that were doing the right thing, and the staff that were treating people in the right way, and the structure was built in a way that can actually leverage people out of homelessness and give them the real opportunity to overcome the circumstances. And I couldn't find it. I went everywhere. I was in Vernon, Kamloops, Penticton, now Chilliwack, I've been all over the mainland in all of these shelters, and I live outside to keep my quality of life, so that way I can actually take care of myself and stay away from the elements of the street and not get caught up into it and not be exposed to these things that could make me sick. And I spend my money on food, and then you know what? You're not you go ahead and try to how much money do you think it would cost if you weren't able to cook and buy groceries and you had to live outside with no way to cook? What would you do? You would have to go to A&W, McDonald's, and all these other places every single day to get the cheapest, most unhealthiest meal you could fucking possibly get. And let's think about that for a sec. If you were to eat 3 times a day and it was just McDonald's, as cheap as you can get it, right? How much money would that cost per day? 3 times a day, at least $15, $16 a pop each time, right? So you're talking about $50 a day. About $50 a day. And that's just McDonald's. Could you fucking imagine? Exactly. That's just McDonald's. That's the reality. And you know that because you've bought McDonald's before, and you know at least every meal that you get is at least $15. And let's say if we were eating at McDonald's 3 times a day, what do you think's going to happen to you in 30 days? You're going to be sick as fuck. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? You're going to be getting even more sick when you eat the shelter food. And then guess what? They're going to kick you out fucking 2-3 times a day for hours at a time. And guess what? You're going to have nowhere to go because every place will kick you out and say you're fucking loitering. And then guess what? Your phone's going to die, and then you can't even get resources or navigate your way around the town. You just lay down and fucking die somewhere in a doorstep somewhere. Another thing I forgot to mention about this shelter is when it comes to lunch and dinner. So like I said, they kick you out at 11:30. Lunch isn't until 12 o'clock. And lunch is at the back of the building in a separate part of the building. So every day before lunch, you're basically outside standing there for 30 minutes every single day. Now add that up times 30, right? Over 30 days in an entire month. It's just exhausting. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal and it's like whatever, but after this for a month of all of these elements combined, and then I'm so fucking tired right now. I'm so tired. And I have to sit out there with all these people that are smoking cigarettes. I don't even want to be near the cigarette smoke, so I have to walk 5 minutes away to the McDonald's and go sit there and hope they don't kick me out for 20 minutes. And then walk all the way back to get lunch for 12 o'clock. And this is every single day. Every single day. And then it's the same thing for dinner. They kick you out at 4:30 and dinner's at 5. So it's always a half an hour. So that's an hour a day standing outside just waiting for food. 30 days. That's 30 hours. That's exhausting. Like, you don't realize this until it happens to you, and then you go through it, and it breaks you down mentally and physically, and it's just not efficient, and it's gonna lead to your demise. Even just small little things like that all add up against you, and people don't realize this until they're going through all of these circumstances. Now, just dealing with something like that alone is obviously nothing, but being homeless, going through all these things, getting food poisoning from the shelter, all of these things add up, and it's just horrific. It's just too much to bear. I've literally went to McDonald's and was so tired that I just didn't go back for lunch, and I starved even more all day. I just gave up. I gave up on feeding myself. The showers are so gross, and the button that you only get 10 seconds of water from that you gotta press every 10 seconds for 10 minutes. Figure that, how many times can you fit 10 seconds into 10 minutes? You know what I'm saying? That's exhausting. I know it's just pressing a button, but it's mentally exhausting, you know? And then to the point where I just don't even want to have a shower anymore. Now, that's a little extreme. Obviously, I still have a shower. I'm obviously always going to take care of myself regardless. But another thing is like, there's the shower, right? And then they take you're not allowed to have food or water in the shelter. I had mouthwash I have my stuff to take care of myself. My toothbrush, my toothpaste, mouthwash in my backpack. They took away my mouthwash and said that people could drink it so that they can't have it in the shelter. So now I can't take care of my hygiene. And if I want my mouthwash, I have to ask them, however many times a day. And they gotta open up an extra locker, so like multiple times a day. I'm already tired from all of these elements, and now that adds another thing on top of it that I have to deal with. Just to use mouthwash. It's not efficient. It's not possible. I can't stand it. I can't deal with it. It's too much. And that's the reality. And you don't have enough energy or motivation to be able to get yourself out of those circumstances because it just destroys you. It deteriorates you before you even get whatever it takes inside of you to get up and go and get out of this circumstance. And I'm one of the most capable fucking people there are in the street, ever. Straight up. And going through homelessness. Go check my resume. Google me, Cory Resilient. Go look my shit up. Go watch my videos. Go see what I've been through. I'm from the fucking slums, but like from the hood, for real, for real. Like for real, like gangs, all gangs. Like if you ain't stabbing and shooting, you're a fucking mark. You're a victim. You ain't fucking going. You can't even walk to the store. Stupid. What the fuck are you talking about? Trying to be a good fucking law-abiding citizen in the hood, you fucking retard. That doesn't happen. If you grow up in the hood, you're a fucking hood, and that's it. And you don't know how to get out of it, and you don't know where to go, and nobody wants to leave their hometown, and it's scary for anybody, not to mention even a street dog. There's nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying? And then when you do leave, the only way to do it is to start from homelessness, like I'm doing, and start all over again every fucking time. And then, over time you get deteriorated like this, right? So anyways, just a reality check. Reality check. Here's the room and the shelter. That's my bunk right there. There's 4 beds. We get these boxes to put our stuff in, and if you have more stuff than that you can fit in there, then you basically can't have it. They'll force you to throw it out. That's my laundry hamper. But anyways, there's a highway right out here, so it's always noisy. People going in and out. This is the door to the room. And here's the thing, people think I'm complaining, like, oh, this guy's complaining about a free roof over his head and free food. No. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you the reality of homelessness. Go and show me a video of somebody you've never seen this in your life. If you've never been homeless, you've never been in a shelter, you've never seen this ever in your life. Nobody goes and shows this on YouTube, what they're going through when they're going through homelessness. It's sensitive, it's embarrassing, nobody's gonna do it. It's never gonna happen. You've never seen it. So I realized I have a responsibility. And what I'm complaining about is that these places are generating tens of millions of dollars, and they're only spending less than 1% or even a fraction of 1% on the actual what it's supposed to be spent on. All these tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars are just vanishing. And then the homeless get less than the basic needs. Like they're spending a couple $100, a couple $1,000, $10,000, $20,000, but they're generating $10 million, $20 million, $60 million. What the fuck? Where's all the money going? Because it ain't here. It's not here, bro. It's not in the homeless shelter. To keep this building running would only cost a fraction of what's being generated. It's fraud on a mass scale. If they really utilized even 20% of the revenue generated for poverty relief or homelessness or for the shelter or for what it's intended for, the change in the lives of the homeless would be significant.
less people would stay homeless. Less people would be homeless. The pathway would be developed. The stability would be there. The opportunity would be there. The basic needs would be there, because this is less than a human's basic needs. So you're always in a state of scarcity, always lacking, always in need, always in desperation. That weighs on people's mental health. It prohibits and it burdens their ability to become stable and maintain stability. That's what you don't get. That's what I'm trying to show. I'm trying to show hundreds of millions of dollars that this place generated, but is only spending a couple $100, a couple $1,000 to maintain it a month or something. It's very minimal. So where are the millions of dollars going? Because if you put the millions of dollars in this place, in developing a pathway for people to get out of homelessness, there would be less people homeless. There would be people that would overcome homelessness, addiction, mental health, and they would be able to maintain that stability for prolonged periods of time, decades, if the money was utilized correctly, if it was really truly used for its purpose that it was intended for. There would be significant improvements permanently around homelessness. But you blame the individual and you say it's their fault and they're just lazy and blah, 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 when they're deprived of even their basic needs from a place that's generating millions, tens of millions of dollars, and selfishly, consuming it or misusing it or mismanaging it, or the management is, taking in $200,000 a year salaries, but spending little crumbs and peanuts on the actual cause where the money is actually meant to be. Like, how much does that cost? $5 instead of a real door? Or, you know what I'm saying? Oh, because I'm homeless, we don't deserve a real door, or we don't deserve, anything other than less than the basic needs. You know what I'm saying? When the money's there, it's not that we think we deserve more, we want more. We're grateful for everything that we have that was given to us. But when you realize that these places are taking advantage of the money and the revenue generated, and they're giving you just less than your basic needs, and you're always deprived, always in lack, needing, and you can't level up to the next level, you can't even gather up enough energy or enough stability to even get to the next level to bring yourself up out of poverty and homelessness, then you're contributing to the problem. And it all comes down to abusing funding and not doing what was intended for that money. That's a problem. Somebody has to show this. Somebody has to talk about this. Somebody has to complain about it. It's not right. And you'll get mad at the homeless person or the mentally ill, disabled, or drug addict for being on welfare and consuming very minimal amount of tax dollars. But the government and these nonprofits and charities are extorting hundreds of millions of dollars per year, and not even in the name of homelessness, mental health, and addiction, and then not even using it for that purpose. But you're mad at the homeless guy for living off a welfare check of your tax dollars, but you're getting extorted, lied to, played, used, and robbed. You're being taken advantage of. Your heart's being taken advantage of. You would like to do the right thing and help in any way you can, and that's why you contribute to taxation, not like you have a choice, because it's extortion. It's not an option. But you want to know that what you're generating to help is actually helping people, but it's not. So you're getting robbed, you're getting played by the government, by these places that are claiming to help the community, and they're really not. And the structure is literally a burden in the way of the homeless people's ability to overcome the circumstances. The way that these structures are built in these shelters completely deteriorates your mental health, well-being, physical health, destroys you in 30 days before you even get an opportunity to become stable, have a job, and get out of these circumstances. Wow. These places are generating tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Everyone that's employed and the management and everyone higher up than that is living a life of luxury. Okay? They're living luxuriously off of this shit, and then throwing crumbs and fucking little seeds to the fucking, like we're birds or some shit. You know what I'm saying? And not spending any money into the infrastructure or into the the structure of things, or even creating a pathway or a structure or a system that actually paves a way out of homelessness. In fact, the structure and the system around homelessness in BC literally makes sure that you stay homeless and you continue to struggle with mental health, and every odd is against you, and addiction is right there. Free needles, free drugs, here you go, here, we'll just give it to you. How could you ever overcome an addiction or homelessness if the structure is built in a way to keep you oppressed and keep you from being able to level up to the next level? Yeah, somebody's got to talk about that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That's a problem. You guys are all hating the homeless people. You're hating the wrong people. You educate yourself. And the only way to educate yourself about something like this is through experience, or you're just going to be wrong. So I saw I had to do something. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not ungrateful. I'm grateful. But there is a problem and it has to be addressed.
So how old were you when you first started making music?
I was about four. I was like 14. About 14, I started writing. You know what I mean? Just messing around and stuff like that. But honestly, like I was more of a freestyle artist, just messing around with my friends. You know what I mean? Like, and then it kind of led to me wanting to get better at the craft. You know, like once I got introduced to like hip hop and everything like that, and I grew up. You know what I mean? When cassette tapes, you know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, cassette tapes. I was listening to like Eminem, like when I was like really young, like a kid on a cassette tape. I remember that, and one of my first CDs was DMX, like Hell Is Hot. I forget the name of the album or whatever, but either way, once I got introduced to hip hop, I wanted to get better, so I started writing. And ever since then, it was just nonstop. Just that's what I did with my life. From then on, I realized that this is what I want to do. This is my passion. And it kept me out of the streets. It kept me away from certain elements that I was trying to get away from. You know what I mean? And it gave me, confidence in myself. And I was like, at least I got something that some other people don't have. So that kept me alive. Growing up in the streets without a family or parents or whatever, like, you know what I mean? I was homeless at a young age. I started selling drugs and getting involved in criminal activity, going to jail, stuff like that. And music kind of kept me on the right track, because if I didn't have that, for sure, like I would have been like fully committed to the street life type of a lifestyle. And I probably wouldn't even be alive right now, maybe, I don't know, like maybe I could be still in jail. Who knows what could have happened to me, right? So I mean, I guess music was the foundation. You know what I mean? Music was the foundation. That's what started it all. Before I did the Cory Resilient stuff or any of that stuff, it was always sincere music. I was always a rapper, and that's kind of how everything started from there. When I came to BC, like that all happened in Ontario. When I was in, I'm from Hamilton, Ontario, Still City, and that's where I grew up. That's where I'm from. But I've been all over Kitchener, Waterloo, Peterborough. I was in Kitchener-Waterloo for 5 years, but when I came to BC, after going through all that, I was like 22, and I ended up, going through homelessness, like, to another level that I've never experienced before, and it was just, like, prolonged. So it kind of changed my life, and I wasn't doing the hustling anymore. I'm not selling drugs no more. I came out to BC to change my life and get away from those elements so I don't get sucked back in. And I kind of just became a permanent homeless person. You know what I mean? Like I just ended up homeless, and it was a different kind of homeless. Like at least out east, I knew when I became homeless, I was like, I'm gonna get out of this. I'm gonna hustle my way out of this. I'm gonna get a pack and go hit the strip and chip it down. But this time, I'm in BC and I'm trying to stay away from that, and I'm hurting myself and depriving myself of things I know I could get and have, and I know I could make money. But I have to break the law in order to do that, and I was not willing to compromise or hurt other people by selling drugs or violence or whatever it is. I didn't want to participate no more.
Where were the challenges that you faced when you got to the Victoria?
I was trying to get to the city. I started in Courtney, and then I'm trying to get to the city where the opportunities are and where the music is or whatever. That's what I'm thinking coming out of Ontario. And I got to Victoria, and it was a big city. It was a city. It was a small city, but like it was big for an island. You're on an island, Vancouver Island, right? So it was just like I'm just trying to get into the grind, and then I end up in this city where
going through homelessness kind of changed my perspective on everything, and it took me away from the music and what I was trying to get to. It kind of stopped me in my tracks, because the way that the system was built and the sheltering system was built, and the way things were being homeless, all the elements were against you. So it's like you can't really thrive in an environment like that. You can't really get into a place from that position. You can't really keep a job when you're trying to live in a homeless shelter where everybody's on drugs and staying up all night, and you can't go to sleep because someone might steal your stuff or your shoes or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so you got to worry about all those things. So you get trapped for like, I got trapped for years.
What is something that you would tell people from the outside looking in that may not understand?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about this is that I would say to not judge people, because the thing is that I used to be like that. I used to look at people and be like, how come you can't get your shit together? How come you can't fucking get up and hustle? How come you can't do something, you know what I mean, with yourself or whatever, right? I'm out here homeless and I'm doing my thing. What's your excuse? So I used to be like that, but here's the thing. You don't know what might have happened to somebody. You don't know what's going on. They could have cancer. They could be sick. They could have liver disease. You don't know what's wrong with them that's making them like that. So it's easy to just look down on people and think, oh, you're a loser. Like, you could get up, you could work, you could do something about this. You just don't want to. You're lazy or whatever. You're whatever, right? All the typical stigmas that people think. But when I went through it, I got humbled, and I realized that there's a blind spot that people can't see the truth about this, and then the system lies about it. Society is blinded about what, and about what's really going on. They don't really know, and they think they know. So it's devastating. I would just say, don't judge people because you have no idea. You could be proven wrong, and I know you're looking for, okay, well, prove me wrong, but you have to be willing. You have to be willing and open-minded to see what's really happening and pay attention and listen to these people that have actually been through it. You know what I mean? Instead of judging them, right? And then you can see it. You'll find the truth. You know what I mean?
From your experience, what do you think could be done?
Well, it's easy to blame the individual, right? It's easy to blame the person and say it starts with the person. The person needs to change. But we've been taking that approach forever, and it's not working. And there's a reason behind that, because you know what? I'll be honest, through my experience, it's not really the individual. It's the way the system is built. And the system is creating poverty. It's creating crime. It's creating addiction. It's creating mental illness, because of the way that it's structured is literally burdening people's ability to survive, thrive, and make it in this world, from that position. So the system is the one that needs to take accountability and take responsibility for the first time, instead of putting all that on the individual and then telling society to look at that individual and hate on that individual and think it's their fault why they're under those circumstances. Because I think by now, at this point, we can obviously see that that's not the case. A lot of people learn that through COVID. You know what I mean? People that would never experience poverty or homelessness ended up in that scenario, and now their perspective has changed. So, it's just, it comes through experience. If you haven't experienced it, there's no way to know the truth about it. So you have to have that understanding and just be mature about that. Or you can just inherit the other stigmas that everybody else does in the typical judgmental way of looking at, stereotypical way of looking at people and things. And you'll just stay thinking that you're right when you're wrong. And, creating more division in between people. And you're adding to the problem. Like, if that's, how it's going.
So I remember you telling me recently about something that you seen online with somebody that worked at a homeless shelter.
Yeah.
Would you mind elaborating on that, about what you seen?
Yeah, so I was actually, like, I'm an advocate now of homelessness, and I advocate against the system and systematic corruption and corruption within these shelters with staff that are being abusive to the homeless. And I saw on TikTok, I was just kind of looking at my video and just kind of going through my videos and thinking about what I was going to make next. And like, I saw that there was people kind of just looking at my video, viewing it, but not liking it. I was just curious what, who they were. And I clicked on one of them, and there was this lady, and she was making a video, and she was literally mocking and making fun of homeless people at a homeless shelter, talking about the homeless shelter, she said, she was like, oh, she's like, homeless people trying to tell me at the homeless shelter how to do my effing job. And then I thought, wait, so you work at the shelter? Like, and that's what you're saying. That's your attitude towards the homeless people that live there and you work there. And I looked at her profile, and it showed that she worked at like Kelowna Gospel Mission, and it was like a recovery slash shelter place, you know what I mean? And she was one on the team lead. And I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. You know what I mean? This is exactly what I've experienced, you know, going through homelessness, was seeing that people like this work in these places.
How did that make you feel when you seen that?
You know, I got mad, you know what I mean? I was mad because I don't like bullies, and I experienced that myself, and it made me want to like tent outside and like get away from the shelters where people need the support, need the help. And then the public thinks that we're just want to go do drugs and go hang out and party, and we don't want to deal with the rules in the shelter. So we don't want to deal with the abusive, power tripping maniacs that work there. You know what I mean? That are sitting there talking down about the homeless people.
Do you feel like it's difficult to deal with sometimes? Like people don't want to hear what you have to say, or it's like they don't believe you, you know, when you're just trying to share your experience. And then sometimes when you're in the moment, you're expressing yourself out of anger because you're hurt from it, and then people start looking at you like you're crazy or something, right? And then they don't want to listen. How does that make you feel, or what do you think about that?
That's kind of how it happens, right? Like, and you know, and that's why I try to tell myself to try to you know, not get upset, but it's hard not to, so it creates more division, right? And then like, you know, it just causes more conflict, you know, and it just causes people not be able to understand what's really happening. But it's from the pain, it's from the hurt. It's really a trauma response that, you know, is what it is. It's the pain that causes somebody to respond like that in such a way that makes people not even want to listen to what they're saying or not believe in what they're saying, you know. And then they look like the crazy person, or just, oh, you're just a homeless person making excuses, and you just don't want to deal with your sobriety or whatever it is that people think, all the stereotypes, you know. And yeah.
What do you want to say to the people that think that you're delusional, or that it's all in your head, or they think that you struggle with an addiction right now, or that you must be on drugs talking this way? Or
Well, I would just say, you know what, there's ways to look at somebody and study or analyze a human being where you could see evidence of their lifestyle or who they are. And if you have that consciousness about you, then you'll be able to judge correctly. I would say, you know, you could look me up, you know what I mean? Cory Resilient, you can Google me, you'll see that like I was doing community work. I got employed doing advocacy work around homelessness for several organizations in Victoria, BC. I'm on magazines like documentaries, news articles, like a bunch of publications, a bunch of stuff that I did as community work with organizations where I was employed under a contract. So, I mean, you know, is somebody, and I spent a decade homeless, you know, in BC. So how does that work then? Because how would I be able to do all that, have a 1 bedroom condo and get employed to all these places and do all this community work if I was just some delusional, you know, I'm just on drugs, or I'm just like, you know, this, my perspective is wrong or something like that. I'm the one that has the experience. Like, I was homeless for a decade, and I got employed and housed, and then I entered that world of employment and stability. So I have the best perspective. I have a better perspective than anybody else that hasn't been through that. And people have to accept that. And if they're not willing to listen to somebody like me that has been through it and does have the proof and the bodies of work in the community, the document, all the things that I've done and documented in my life, doing the YouTube videos, Cory Resilient, I wanted to document my homelessness to prove and show people that there's something wrong with the system. You know what I mean? And this is what's causing poverty and causing crime and causing addiction and mental health. But nobody believes me and nobody wants to listen because they can't see it.
what would you say to the people that say that you're lazy or that you don't want to work during the times while you were homeless, when you were struggling, trying to get on your feet when you first came out here, and the challenges that you faced? What would you tell those people that are saying those types of negative things towards you?
Yeah. Well, you know, I got a bad experience trying to be a part of the employment industry in the world and society by getting judged and those stigmas used against me. So it made me not even want to contribute or be a part of society. So it pushed me into learning other things. Even when I was homeless, I was learning things, and I was trying to learn how to generate income and make money. I started online businesses. I became an affiliate marketer. You know, I was doing online sales. I was an audio engineer. I started, you know, developing my skills, and I started being able to actually make a small amount of money doing things that I love to do.
and that's kind of what the direction I went in. But people don't know that because they don't see that, because I'm not at a 9 to 5. And a 9 to 5, yeah, it guarantees you a check, but you're stuck to that check for the rest of your life, and rent's only getting higher. And you got to have a long goal plan, like like a business or something like that. So I just got to start early in that. Society rejected me, the system rejected me, and I was only trying to make it and be a part of it and work and do everything everybody else is doing and pay my rent. But it all rejected me and made it so I couldn't be a part of it. So I had to find another way. Now I got started a clothing line called Resilient Gang Apparel. Like a shoe line. And I'm starting to just want to build those aspects. And build those things up, basically. Instead of be a part of a society that doesn't value me and doesn't respect me and doesn't believe me. You know what I mean? Like, in the end of the day, really, why would I want to be a part of something like that, right? So people think that people just are lazy and don't want to work. It's that we have tried and we've attempted to participate, and the energy we received back was so negative that we thought, why would we want to be a part of something like that? So
What did you learn from working in the advocacy field?
I did learn a lot. I learned a lot. I had to meet with government officials. I was in a room with 15 government officials, and I'm standing there, and I'm a street dude, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I can't believe that I'm doing something like this. But I knew that it was a responsibility that I had to take, because nobody else could really do it or wanted to do it. But I saw I needed to do this and speak to these people and show them what's wrong. And it was what I learned is that there's such a huge gap in between the housed and people that haven't been through poverty. Like, people that haven't been through poverty, people that haven't been through homelessness, there's such a huge gap in between. They can't see what's actually happening. So there has to be a bridge. Somebody has to be the person that went through the experience to get in that position to explain and break down and prove to people what's actually happening, because there's a huge gap, a huge miscommunication, and there's just a lack of true understanding about what's truly happening and what the truth is. So that's just creating more of the same problem.
What were the types of things that you seen and experienced while you were working for this advocate agency?
I saw how they run a business. That's what I saw. I learned that nonprofits and charities are nothing but a business, actually for profit. And the way that they would write grants and they would get grants and they would take advantage of government funding, they would just use all of this resource and all of this money in the wrong way and misuse it and take advantage of it, and not really put the majority or the majority of the funding towards the cause that it was generated for. So I'm just like, well, no wonder there's a problem. No wonder there's a lack. No wonder homelessness never corrects, because it's the same establishments that are claiming to be there to help people that are taking advantage of this. They're profiting from it. They're building a business around it. And I started to notice that from the inside as an employee to these nonprofits and organizations. And that's why I withdrew, because I was like, I don't want to participate in something like this, because then I might as well just go back to the street and sell crack or sell drugs, or be involved in criminal elements, because that's what that is. That's a criminal enterprise. It's fraud. That's what it is. So I didn't want to participate in it, and it stopped me from being able to have a career in a related field.
What happened since then, since you withdrew from that job?
Well, a lot happened. I from there, I had a condo at the time, 1 bedroom condo. I ended up losing that because I didn't have a field to work in anymore, and I had to restart all over again. I ended up being homeless all over again because of that. And then I had to relocate. I had to survive through another experience of survival again, after I thought that I figured something out in life, and I did all this community work, and these people and these organizations just let me fall off the side of the earth, and they didn't care what happened to me, where I went, and they were kind of actually malicious towards me in the end. So I ended up coming to I left the island and I went to the valley, Okanagan Valley, and I was in Vernon. And then I was homeless, and I was trying to work my way up, and I was doing everything I needed to do. But then the forest fires happened in Kelowna, and I'm trapped now. And then I had a homie
that I wanted to link up with and do music and stuff like that with. And he was in Chilliwack, and he got me out of there because I was basically trapped by the forest fires. Like, I was literally like surrounded by forest fires. I'm breathing in smoke all day, every day. I'm homeless. And I'm going through hell right after all that stuff happened. But, you know,
What was what was different about this experience this time compared to the other times that you were homeless? Was there anything that was different or different challenges that you've seen that was different compared to the other times?
well, I faced some of the same challenges, but also, definitely there's always new challenges when you're homeless, and there's always new things coming at you and elements in the street that are coming at you that you don't want to be a part of. But the Ministry of Forest like stole my tent, took my tent, and like uh, all my clothes and everything else, and then I had nowhere to sleep. And then all of a sudden, I'm in an emergency situation. The shelters were full. I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's forest fires. There was elements where street elements that were getting involved, and I was at risk. Because I'm living in the street, and there's criminal elements, and
How was the forest fires affecting your health from the smoke?
my lungs are still not doing well right now. I feel like that permanently affected my health and my lungs. Um, it was really damaging me, and it still is. Now that I'm out of the smoke, I'm still struggling to breathe. I'm still having health problems. So it definitely damaged me, and it hurt me. And there's no way to escape it when you're going through homelessness. There's nowhere to go. You can go to the library, and sometimes it'll be closed, and you can't go anywhere else if you don't have money. They'll kick you out, and you can't even charge your phone. So you're forced to basically inhale smoke and die outside if you're a homeless person in a forest fire situation. Yeah. So, and they were helping everybody else. They were like, Red Cross was helping all the people that were fleeing and stuff like that. And I get it, people are losing their homes and stuff, but I mean, they didn't care really about the homeless, and the homeless people have been out there the whole time suffering. So, and they don't even have homes to lose. But so I learned about that. That was a new experience going through homelessness. It's definitely eye opening.
So with everything that you just experienced recently, where are you at now mentally, physically, spiritually? What do you got going on at the moment? What are you trying to work towards now?
Yeah, so I'm trying to just get back to being myself, and back to being around like-minded people, and instead of isolating, being homeless, going through poverty. I'm trying a new approach right now, and I'm trying to do things differently. I'm trying to rebrand myself. I'm trying to hit the reset button and have a new strategy, and a new approach at life, and my attitude towards life and things and people. So I'm getting back to the music. I linked up, with the homie Intricate, what I'm saying? And we're doing music, we're making music, we're getting a camera, we're gonna be doing music videos, documentaries, we're gonna be doing, all kinds of different work. We got clothing lines.
Where you're at right now with the challenges, as you were saying that you were facing financially, what makes you not want to go the 9 to 5 route right now?
Yeah, and that's the thing, I've done it many times, right? And it's very depleting. It's energy depleting, it's time depleting. And I understand for maybe a period of time, but the thing is that I've already done that, and I've had career opportunities and done things that are more in a career aspect, so it would be difficult to go back to a 9 to 5, and it's quite miserable, and it really keeps you away from trying to work on your dreams in some cases.
What would you say to the people from the outside looking in that work a 9 to 5, that see you struggling, they may not understand what's going on with you, and they're and their easy solution to say to you is just to stop being lazy and to get a regular job like everyone else, and to quit complaining. So what would you say to those types of people?
I would say, you know what? Every billionaire, almost every billionaire, there's a lot of billionaires. I can't remember what the brand is. I don't know if it's Gucci or Louis Vuitton or whoever it was, but successful people didn't think, oh, like, I'm gonna work a 9 to 5 my whole life. Like, they were like thinking in a different way, and that's why they became successful. They became billionaires or millionaires, is because they were thinking in a different way. And so it's not that I'm lazy or that I don't want to work or that I'm not willing. I have, and I've done it, and I've proven myself over and over again, but it was very unfulfilling. and it really made me depressed. It gave me anxiety. It made me give up on my dreams. It made me feel like my dreams weren't possible and this is all I can do, and it got me stuck, trapped into a system that is collapsing, you know. So I have to just focus on my passion and focus on that, because like I said, there's been many successful people that have, and they were, you know, and they didn't go the route that everyone else took, and you know, and people thought that about them too, and they said that about them, you know, and now they're successful. Now everybody loves them and wants to be cool with them and can't believe it and all this stuff, right? So I see that and I believe in it. I see its proof, and I'm just gonna keep going in that direction. You know, that's the only direction there is to go from this point now with my experience and what I've been through and what I know about life and through my experiences. So judge if you will, you know.
So how long have you been out in BC now?
Been in BC. I came out when I was 22 and I'm 31 now, so you know, 10 years, about a decade, you know. So yeah, and I've been all over. I was in Courtney when I first landed. I was in Union Bay. I was in Parksville, Nanaimo, and then I made it to Victoria. Then I eventually I went out to the valley to Okanagan. I was in Vernon, Kamloops, Penticton, Chilliwack, and yeah, man, it's just 10 years I've been out here.
What was something important that you learned about yourself during your journey out here?
Well, you know, I got humbled. You know, I was young. I was, you know, I came from a place where, you know, a lot of like poverty and gangs and a certain mentality, a street mentality. And I came out to a country, to a beautiful place where there's the ocean and the mountains, and it allowed me to grow. It allowed me to like develop myself and not have to think that I need to keep living that way or participating in a street life or that mentality. It gave me an opportunity to change, basically. So everything happens for a reason. Everything is necessary. You got to go through the pain and suffering to get the reward of the growth. And that's probably what I gained the most from it, going through this 10 years of homelessness and being far away from where I grew up, away from my culture, and, you know, being alone, being isolated for so long, going through homelessness. And I just wouldn't give up. I just wouldn't give up, you know. And I learned something about myself in that aspect, and that's how I developed the whole Cory Resilient thing, you know. I learned a lot about myself, a lot about self-control, a lot about the reality of life and how serious life is and how valuable people are, because I end up being isolated for so long that I hated people when I first came out here, and I was like, oh, I hate everybody, you know. And now I'm like, I miss people and I see the beauty in people. I see the value in people, you know. So it changed my perspective a lot, you know. I grew a lot. I grew a lot.
So just from hearing what you told me, definitely there's, you know, a lot of pros and things that you learned and that you benefited in a good way, but what was also some of the cons and the negative experiences that affected you that you noticed?
Yeah, well, I mean, right off the rip when I came out, I thought that, oh, I'm gonna be able to I'll get a job, I'll get a place, and I'll, you know, and I'll become successful and keep doing my music and everything. And, you know, I just ended up trapped in a long cycle of homelessness from the way that the system was really built against you. It was built in a way that didn't give you the ability to kind of, you know, get established and have all those things. And, you know, being homeless, I went through a lot of being judged and a lot of abuse from the homeless shelters and in the places that are supposed to be helping me, you know. And I was exposed to elements in the street that I, you know, didn't want to be exposed to, because that's the way the sheltering system was, and the way the system was built in BC. So that's why I ended up homeless for so long, and it took this long to get, you know, back established. But, you know, I went through everything. I just went, you know, it almost killed me, like, you know. And there wasn't any resources. There wasn't as much resources as the way they're making it seem, that, oh, there's this place to go to do labor, and there's this place, and like you go to all these places and they're like, sorry, we can't help you, or like it's not really what it seems. There wasn't really enough resources to make it. There wasn't enough opportunity, and it was difficult, you know. And I got stuck into a cycle because of that. Most people would think, oh, well, he's just on drugs, or he's just drinking or something like that, or something's wrong with him, right? But it was really that. It was really that. And I tried so hard for so long to try to make it and survive and stay afloat. I just end up homeless. As a homeless person, people just judge you just looking at you while you're homeless. No one wants to rent to you. Nobody wants to hire you. People don't trust you. Like, people are like, whatever. Like, you're not welcome anywhere. You're not welcome anywhere. I was disconnected, first of all, from where I come from, my culture. Like, just being, it was a different environment. It was a different atmosphere, a different energy. It was a different culture, and that was hard to deal with. And just being homeless in general, and just being having no family and parents or anything like that, I always felt alone, and I couldn't be. Things were so different, and compared to where I'm from, that I ended up getting like left out, and not being a part of what everybody else was a part of. And it was hard to make friends. It was just hard to make it in BC. It was just very judgmental and a lot of stigma. And I felt so isolated and disconnected from the whole world that it just got worse and worse.
Did you feel like it was hard to find people that understood you and that weren't going to judge you, and that's why you withdrew from a lot of the times from social settings because of this?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. It was just like I was trying to be a part of everything, and I got rejected and mistreated by every single resource that was supposed to be there to help me. And then I just withdrew, and I said, it would be better off for me to isolate and be alone than be a part of this and be judged and be treated this way. So it forced me into isolation, the way that the system was, the way that people were out here compared to where I'm from. It was just a different vibe, and it was very unwelcoming and very difficult to try to join with and be a part of. It wasn't really accepting in that nature. So I ended up isolating for a long, long time, which affected my mental health. It affected my health. It affected my way of socializing with people. It completely changed me over a period of time. So
So you feel like over the years it definitely like started deteriorating your mental and your physical health,
yeah,
and you realize how important it is to have people in your life and to have a sense of community.
yeah, and that's just the thing, right? So it came back full circle. I learned something very valuable in that 10 years of homelessness and isolation and stuff, and moving to a different part of the country. And that's so different compared to where I come from, and the way people are and the way people think. There's such a difference.
What is something that you learned now being so far away from home for such a long period of time? How do you look at, where you grew up now? Was there certain things that you realize maybe you took for granted,
Yeah, for sure. Like,
or you realize what was important in your life back there now?
yeah, and that's the thing. When I left, I was angry, I was hurt. I was involved in the street. I was drinking, I was doing all these things. I was young, 22. And 10 years later, like I said, I was that attitude I had. I hated people, and now I realized what I had. I had something unique. I grew up in poverty. I grew up where what some people would say, maybe like, out here in BC would say, like, that's kind of like the hood end of Canada, if you want to call Canada the hood or whatever. Like, big city life, a lot of gangs, like a lot of violence, a lot of gun violence and homicides, like, uh, you know, but I was a different person back then, you know what I mean? And I've grown now, and I've learned a lot about life. So now I value life much more. If I were to go back to where that type of same environment, I feel like I could live a good life without getting involved in those elements, because I've learned how to stay away from them, and I've learned how to develop myself in a way that's not what I desire anymore. I've grown up, and it took a long time to get humbled. So, but I took a lot of for granted, like I would say I don't have a family. You know what I mean? I don't have a family because I was mad at my family that I was homeless when I was a kid, and nobody helped me, nobody bailed me out of jail, nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, where nobody helped me, where's my family? They weren't there for me, but they were also poor, and they couldn't do, there was not much that they could do, but I held that resentment for like years and years, and I was like, oh, I don't have nobody. And now I realize these people are alive, and they don't have nothing against me, you know what I mean? And it was just me that was upset because of that. So, I now I would like try to make peace with my family, and like make peace with my mom's still alive. My dad passed away when I was in jail when I was 18. I missed the funeral, and
now I look like I only got one parent left. I'm lucky that I have a parent, you know what I mean? Even if my mom was an alcoholic or we went through our stuff or whatever and it was no good, you still have to love and value people, and that's what I lost. I stopped valuing and loving and caring about people, and I was angry at the world, you know, because of what happened to me. So I pushed everybody away, and I isolated for 10 years, you know, and I went through homelessness. But
Are you starting to learn to forgive certain people and to understand people now that you're older and more wiser?
yeah, yeah, a lot of that hatred that I had towards my family or my mom or parents or whatever in general or people in general, I see why people are broken now. I understand. I've grown and come to this wisdom and maturity in life through my experience, right? And now I see it's you know, this is everybody's broken. You know what I mean? So I just realized that, you know, it's not really like that. It's not the way that I thought it was, you know, and now I value people now, you know.
Wake up. We have a moral burden to bear, and that's the adventure of our life. That's the other thing so interesting about the Abrahamic story, is that God calls Abraham out of his luxurious slumber and sends him into a catastrophe. Tyranny, starvation, war, brutal. But he has the adventure of his life. You might say, well, it's the adventure of your life that justifies the catastrophe of your life. It's not some simple-minded, juvenile hedonism or desire for comfort. That's not what we're built for. We're built for the adventure of our lives. And where do you find that? You find that in orienting yourself to the highest possible good in all ways and speaking the truth forthrightly along that pathway. It's really something to see constantly how many people are dying for lack of an encouraging word, and how easy it is to provide that if you're careful. You know, give credit where credit is due, and to say, you're a net force for good if you want to be.
All right, so thanks for watching the documentary. A little update to let you guys know. I'm currently housed. I have a place, and you know, I just wanted to show people, like, that was just a small, you know, amount of time in my head, right? Because like I've been going through this since I was 14 years old. I've been going through homelessness off and on, you know, all across Canada, you know, just trying to find where I belong, where I can make a home, where I can make it, where the opportunity is, you know, where there's a real opportunity for me to leverage myself out and find where I belong in society. That's all it's ever been about. That's all it was ever about, was just trying to get out of poverty and get out of the hood and in violent places so that way I could go and create a life for myself. And I found myself trapped in and out of homelessness for cycles, you know, throughout my life, having no family and parents and stuff. And people don't really understand this. They think, you know, whatever, just get a job and get a place. There's so many things involved in that process that people are not aware of because they haven't been through it themselves, that they develop this stigmatized perspective of homelessness and homeless people, right? Like, oh, they're just lazy, whatever, all the typical stigmas. So, you know, not a lot of people are going to show you what this process is like, especially, you know, I'm lucky I have an advantage that I'm not going through addiction or alcoholism, and I've overcome alcoholism and things of that nature, you know, throughout my adventure or my journey through life, you know, being exposed to that at an early age. With my dad, you know, he was a drug user. He got me involved in criminal elements, selling, you know, hard drugs when I was just a young kid, you know. So I kind of got inherited into a life of crime, and it kind of led me into this lifestyle of being an outcast and not wanting to be a part of society, you know. And by the time I wanted to be a part of society was so rejecting and unwelcoming of me, and it was so difficult to get involved in the work industry and try to find where I belong and you know get in there. But it was just the worst experience, most degrading, belittling. It just destroyed me. So it just made me even further not want to be a part of society. And I realized that the system is broken. It's not really me. Um, well, on top of my brokenness, if anything, but the brokenness is really coming from the brokenness of the system, and we're all a reflection of it. People don't realize that because they haven't actually experienced it. So it's very blinding. There's a blind spot. But anyways, I just want to let you guys know I'm housed. This is the first documentary I ever tried to make. It was like sensitive stuff, that just videos that I've collected, throughout, the last year or so, of what I've been going through. And that's just a small fraction of what I've went through. I've been going, imagine that, but times even worse, in worse places and worse situations, and and when I was younger or whatnot, you know what I mean. So I've been through all kinds of phases and struggles in my life by myself, with nobody to care for me or help me or take care of me or nurture me through these struggles or anything. I had to go through it by myself since I was 14 years old. And I can understand why everybody else ended up on drugs. They ended up mentally ill. And I went through, pretty much 15 years of homelessness off and on. And I saw everybody deteriorate from drugs, from the influences of the street, from them just giving up because of them experiencing the rejection of society, and trying to get a job, and then being just belittled, then them going back to a life of crime, and then getting life in jail or getting killed. I can see how easy it is, and it just comes from pain and trauma, and people don't realize this because they haven't been through it. So they think people are making these choices intentionally, or it's a decision, but they don't realize that at an early age these people were forced into this lifestyle, unwillingly, and just adapted to it as a way of survival, and actually became their environment and became a product of their environment. And that's what happens in reality versus what people think, and their stigmatized views and perspectives coming from a place of no experience. No, they lack the experience, so they really lack the correct perspective. you know um and some people just have already made up their minds. And yeah, there's a lot of bad people that are homeless and that are doing crime and stuff like that. There's a lot of bad people that work in government, that police, that authority, like in the schools. There's been corruption on every aspect of every system and every type of human being across the board. So it's really not a matter of that. It's just easy to pick on the homeless people because they're right out in the open, and they're forced into the open, and they get exploited the most. So it's so easy to judge people with an outside view on people's lives in a way that they can't even hide. Like, you got four walls to hide behind. You got all these, ways to hide from people looking at your most vulnerable states, in that you go through in privacy. But homeless people are exploited out in the open, right? So keep that in mind, right? But I just wanted to say that, like, I overcame a lot of things, and I plan on doing a lot of amazing things in life. I feel like I didn't go through all that for absolutely no reason. I refuse to accept that. So, but the thing is that obviously I can't do everything alone, as much as that's what I've done all my life, as I've done everything alone. So I try to figure out a way where I can articulate my story, my life, my experiences, to empower people, but at the same time inspire people in a way that maybe they would even support something that I'm doing. Like, for example, I've created a brand, a clothing line and a shoe line, which I mentioned in this documentary. And also, I'll be leaving the links in the description, pinned in the comments as well. And somewhere around this video, you'll see that stuff. And that's a way that people can support me, and help support what I'm trying to do, build awareness first of all. And I have plans on starting a nonprofit organization. I have plans on finding other, or creating new spaces for maybe homeless youth. I wanted to create a studio space where homeless youth could come and make music, you know, uh, that's something that I wish I had when I was young and I was going through homelessness. I wanted to make music, and that's pretty much the main thing that kept me together. It kept my mental health together while everybody else's mental health deteriorated in the streets. When you know, when I was homeless and I was seeing all these people around me, they were all being victimized by the elements of the street. But making music is one thing that actually held me together, kept me away from the influences, and kept me chasing a passion. And that passion that developed inside of me carried me through the rest of my life throughout those struggles. And I maneuvered in such a way that it protected me, it preserved me. So music really, it preserved me. It could have saved my life, so to speak. So it's a main thing that you go anywhere in any town anywhere in Canada, like there's not very many places that have, maybe there might be one, in the whole country, maybe two, I'm not sure, but it's not, I haven't seen it, very often, where there's a music studio for youths where they can make music and be creative, and have another space to be off of the street, right? Where it's like involving a type of art, pretty much, music, anything related to music is still considered an art. But then, also I wanted to have a podcast where you have people that are willing, if they're willing, whatever, like to come on the podcast, that are going through homelessness and speak from their perspective on what the barriers are, in not only, you know that they struggle with, but the system as well, because I feel like everything is pointed towards the individual. It's always the individual that needs to take accountability and do, and get the help, and change. They're the ones that need the change the most. But throughout my experience, what I've discovered is actually the system is contributing to poverty, homelessness, and addiction, and also mental health directly. And until the system takes accountability and takes responsibility and restructures itself based off of those morals, then this type of a thing is going to continue to grow, and it always has for decades and decades, right? And there's a reason for that. It's because the system never takes accountability, but it's always the individual that has to, and we're kind of certain people that grew up in poverty, and were forced into a life of crime that didn't want to, and then found a way out, but then got chewed up and destroyed by society and the system, just trying to be a part of it and do what is expected. That's devastating, and that's what's creating a lot of people to reject the idea of participating in a society and being a part of a community or a system, and abiding by the laws and the rules of the system. It makes people want to rebel that go through that experience. So, there's a lot of dynamics involved, and I plan on making more documentaries and doing more work around homelessness. So one way that you can support me, again, is through my clothing line. It's called Resilient Gang Apparel. And then I'll also have a PayPal donation option, and then also my Patreon. So there's also I have a shoe line, and I'm also gonna have I'm working on a new book, so that's gonna be another option. So these are things that where you also gain something from it, where you could support me. And you know I was thinking of a realistic thing. I was like, imagine if I could reach a couple million people with one of my most significant impactful videos or whatever, right? That's really going to create some type of positive effect in some way, or just change the minds of people in a way that could change the structure of things a little bit, just through people, because that's what it really is. It's the way that we think about each other and how we're influenced. So there's so many ways that I could reach a goal. Like, so I was like, TikTok, for example, right? Like, I put like a couple $100 into a TikTok video once, and it reached, like, I don't know, 40,000 people or something like that. But when I was reading the comments, and so many people were relating, and it was, some people were like not aware of what I was saying, and they became aware of it, and it created some impact in their life in some way. I'm like, that's worth, this is what this is about. You know what I mean? So it's like, it has to happen. It's needed, and I feel like I have a responsibility. So, but I can't do it by myself. So I really realistically looked, how much would it cost in an advertising budget to reach a couple million people, like 2 million people? And I looked on TikTok, and you can actually, you know, um, disclose your budget with TikTok, and it'll tell you how many people generally that you're gonna reach. And I got $5,600 would reach, I think, 2.2 million people. So like 2,200,000 people. So I was like, wow. I was like, what if I could like create a documentary, create a book, and show people the reality of this stuff, but at the same time, this could be life altering, right? Like I could generate or raise some funds enough to be able to reach millions of people with my message, with my story, and actually have a large scale impact, right? Like that's basically my dream. That's my dream, and if you guys support me when it comes to just purchasing something from my store, from my brand, my clothing store, like a hoodie or anything like that, um, donating to the PayPal or Patreon, or anything like that. My shoe line, you could buy a pair of my shoes, like if you like that type of a thing. But there's so many ways that you could support to accomplish this goal. And I feel like that would be the first step to a major thing, me reaching that many people with my story. um, it's going to be life altering, I believe, so, and I think it'll lead to more opportunities, more connections with people that can help me, go further with what I would like to do. I want to use my experience to create impact and in the community, and change the structure of things and the way people look at things, because I can clearly see the issue going through homelessness, getting employed to multiple organizations around homelessness, nonprofits and charities. And I discovered that there's a serious problem, and it's not all about the individual. What's escaping the picture and the accountability and responsibility is the system and the way it's structured. And why do we never address that, but we always address the individual? So there's obviously something wrong, and this is the mission that I'm on. So those are the ways that you can support me. And yeah, I'm going to just keep building, and I'm just going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep working on more documentaries. The next ones are going to be a lot better. I've invested, myself into this, and, I have, new potential, to do more, but I can't do it alone. So I need people's help, and you can support by doing those things, and I'll make sure that there's a link, for you guys to check it out. Anyways, the Patreon, PayPal, or my clothing line. You guys can check out, some stuff on there and see if there's anything that you like. There's everything you could imagine: hoodies, like t-shirts, even socks, like mugs. There's pretty much everything, like towels, like there's all with, with the design on it and stuff. There's a lot of stuff, so you might find something that's pretty cool. There's even phone cases and stuff like that, so you should check it out. Anyways, thanks for watching and supporting the movement. Stay resilient, resilient gang.